So before I mentioned of reviewing the special right triangle. If you memorize that and understand the rules for the special right triangle, then you can do the basic work on finding the exact value when it comes to sine of 0 degrees, 30 degrees, 45 degrees, 60 degrees, and 90 degrees. Same thing for cosine. But here's an easier way to memorize these five degrees for sine. Now eventually we're going to talk about, instead of just degrees, also in radians, but we're just going to focus on degrees. So when first test, if it's asking about sine and you have to memorize these 5 degrees, the exact values for these 5, the easiest that I learned was, first we're going to start off with 5 numbers. At 0 degrees, we're going to start with 0 and then count up by 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright. Next thing we're going to do is that we're going to square root each numbers. And then after that, we're going to divide all the numbers by 2. So we're going to work one by one. 0 squared, we can definitely square root that. Square root of 0, we can definitely simplify that. So it's going to be 0 over 2, which we will simplify as 0. 1 square can definitely simplify, not 1 square, so square root of 1, which is just 1 over 2, and then that's pretty much what we can simplify. Now square root of 2, we can't simplify that, so we're going to leave it like that. Square root of 3, we can't simplify that, so we're just going to leave it like that. The square root of 4, yes, we can definitely simplify that, which is 2, and then we still have the denominator. 2 divided by 2, yes, we can still simplify that, which is just 1. So that's how you can remember the exact value for sine of 0 degrees, sine of 30 degrees, sine of 45 degrees, sine of 60 degrees, and sine of 90 degrees. So the same thing can be applied for cosine, but it would be in reverse order. So again, here's a method on how to memorize the exact values that I underline in red for sine of 0 degrees, 30 degrees, 45 degrees, 60 degrees, and 90 degrees. 0, 1/2, square root 2 over 2, square root 3 over 2, and 1. Alright, now I'm going to talk about cosine. Cosine of 0 degrees, 30 degrees, 45 degrees, and 60 degrees, and 90 degrees. So just like sine, you start off with 0 and you count up by 1. Now with cosine, it's going to be backwards. So the number we're going to start off is with 4, and then we're going to count down by 1. So we're going to have 3, 2, 1, 0. Same process. Square root, square root, square root, square root, square root, and then divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2, and divide by 2. Alright, so now we're going to work out the square roots. Square root of 4, we can simplify that into 2, and we still have divided by 2, which will simplify into 1. Square root of 3 can't simplify that, so we're going to leave it alone. Square root of 2 can't simplify that, we're going to leave that alone. Square root of 1, sure, we can definitely simplify that, which is 1, and it still has divided by 2. That's pretty much it, so we're going to leave that alone. Square root of 0, yep, we can simplify that, which is 0, and it's still divided by 2. 0 divided by 2, which is 0. So here's the exact values of cosine of 0 degrees, 30 degrees, 45 degrees, 60 degrees, and 90 degrees. So cosine of 0 is 1. Cosine of 30 is 3 square root of 3 over 2. Cosine of 45 degrees is square root of 2 over 2. Cosine of 60 degrees is 1/2. And cosine of 90 degrees is 0. So, why is it important to memorize these exact values? Well, it's going to play a big part in the unit circle. In the unit circle, when it comes to coordinate points we always have x and y. But when it comes to sine and cosine, typically x, it would be cosine theta, and then for y, it will be sine theta. So that's how it's going to play when it comes to using the unit circle. So when it comes to trig function on a unit circle, instead of x, y, it will be cosine theta, comma, sine theta.